Thank you, Mr. Tang, for sharing your significant research with us here today. Ladies and gentlemen, we've explored the impact of generative AI on healthcare and education. Now, Professor Po-Shen Loh will address a crucial question: the relationship between humans and AI. Our next speaker will help us answer that question, from Professor from Carnegie Mellon University. He's a social entrepreneur and mathematician. He served as a national coach of the USA International Mathematical Olympiad team from 2013 to 2023, which ranked first place in the world 4 times during that period. He will shortly make his way to the stage to give his presentation. Please wait for a few minutes.
Hello. Wow. Well, it's very nice to meet all of you here. I'll say this is actually the first time I've ever been to Vietnam, and I'm very, very thankful to be able to meet all of you. I also really want to talk about humans because we just finished talking about superhumans. So what's about the rest of us? Right? How about the rest of us? Okay. This talk is actually not going to be that technical because I'm focusing on the people side. I also wanted to make a comment about Vietnam in the sense that actually the first experience I had with anyone from Vietnam was in middle school because the coach of my state's math team was Vietnamese. That is me, and judging from the picture, you can guess that maybe I'm a little bit older now. Actually, my coach's name was Z. She wrote Z-E-E, but I've learned now that D, because it was spelled D-I was her name, but she always wrote Z-E-E on her name tag, and today now I understand why, because that's how it's pronounced. But my experience growing up was this particular person actually had a major impact on my life, because at some point when I was in middle school, I qualified for the state team. I was on the state team for the state of Wisconsin. And the coach was one really tough Vietnamese lady. Has anyone ever heard of the state of Wisconsin? A few. But Wisconsin is not well known. But under her coaching, Wisconsin, my team, ended up ranking number 3 in the entire United States of America. So she was pretty good as a coach. So you Vietnamese are pretty good. And that was an impression I had from long ago. Right. I mentioned this thing about middle school because when I think about what people are going to need to be able to do now that AI is here, you'll need to learn the kinds of things that I learned when I did these middle school math competitions, which was not how to solve problems that I had seen before, but how to solve problems that we've never seen before. I want to focus on this as a skill that every single person now needs to learn. Unfortunately, the way education is normally done, you don't learn this. The way education is usually done, someone shows you how to do a problem, you practice it 10 times, and then when the exam comes, you hope that every problem you have seen before, and bam, you're done, okay? Unfortunately, those are the easiest problems for AI to solve. Okay, so now everyone needs to learn this. Well, how do you teach this? Let me tell you how I teach. I'm a professor at Carnegie Mellon University. The way I teach every class is I walk into the room and I say, I'm sorry guys, I forgot how to solve this problem. Here's what we do today. Any ideas? And the whole class together, they brainstorm and I discuss with them and they solve the problem that they have never seen before. This is my teaching style every single time. And actually, I don't remember how to do the problem. I don't prepare for class. This saves lots of time. Now, I'm able to get away with this because I have taught at Carnegie Mellon University for 14 and a half years. As you might have been able to tell from that photograph, I've been around for a little bit of time. That photograph was taken when Bill Clinton was in his first term as President of the United States of America. So yes, I've been at CMU for 14 and a half years, and so I can teach that way, but now we need everyone to be able to learn that way, and the deep question is how to scale this up. Today I'm going to tell you about some of my work which is done to teach people to scale up how to teach lots of people how to solve problems they haven't seen before. And the secret is to use not AI, but game theory. I'm trying to solve a human problem. One way to solve human problem is to throw more AI at it. The way I solve human problems is that I'm inspired by the most famous person ever to graduate from Carnegie Mellon University's mathematics department. And that person's name is John Nash. John Nash, there was a movie about this man. It's called A Beautiful Mind. He's famous for Nash equilibrium. Famous for thinking about what will happen if lots of people do what's best for themselves. In fact, game theory was central to the nuclear weapons strategies for major countries. So I think about game theory because if you want to solve a problem for lots of people, using people has to line up. Okay. Well, I'm not only a theorist. The way I'll do the rest of the talk is first I'll show you what we've done, and then I'm going to peel back the curtain and explain how it works, okay? Because the first thing is if you want to teach large-scale number of people, oh boy, how are you going to do that? Well, we think that you have to do it over the internet because that's the only way to reach people in lots of different areas, whether they are big cities far away or small cities in other faraway places. But there was a major problem with internet-based teaching. It was terrible. The experience that many people had on the pandemic was the best way to fall asleep is to take a Zoom math class. If any of you have kids, if you watched your kids take math class, you watched your kids basically sleep and not pay attention. But I thought hard about this, and I said, there must be a solution to online learning, because the last time I checked, kids are very good at watching screens. Those of you at Google have really figured this out with your YouTube, right? You got all of them on YouTube. So I said, what can I do? I can learn from those guys. So let me show you what I did. I'm going to show you a 1-minute video clip of what we have turned Zoom math class into. Okay? We did this. You'll see two people on the screen. They're both teaching. All of our classes are taught by 2 high school students at the same time. And the class goes like this.
All right, so we have our first daily challenge question here. Now, before we jump into it, I'd like to establish one small class norm, which is when you have a question, first of all, if you have a question, put it in chat. We would like to hear all of your questions, and we will definitely address any questions you have. But also, if someone sends in a question that you had, you can put a QQ in chat to indicate that you had the same question, a common question. That way, we know that you had the same question, and you can support your classmates in having questions about the problem.
I saw a lot of people have great responses and great answers. However, we really want to see your solutions so that we can start building upon your ideas. And 2 solutions that I already see are from Grace and Isha, so thank you guys really much for putting those in.
We turned Zoom math class into something that looks like a Twitch gaming stream. If you don't know what that means, it looks like an Instagram Live, it looks like a TikTok, it looks like a YouTube, it looks like everything all those kids are watching anyway. Okay? How did we do this? The secret weapon was to combine left brain and right brain. You see, it turns out that the university I teach at, Carnegie Mellon University, does anyone know what we're most famous for? Anyone know some things that my university is famous for? Computer science, of course, because we're here at this conference. You know we're one of the top computer science schools in the country. But does anyone know anything else we're famous for? Duolingo, that's computer science. Luis von Ahn was in the computer science meetings. The other thing, one of the other things, is that we have one of the top theater departments in the entire United States of America. We have one of the top acting schools in the country. Carnegie Hall in New York City is the same Carnegie. So I said, what would happen if we tried to learn from the actors? Actually, what you see happening here is we're the first people in the history of education to put a professional actor in every single classroom, where the actor is not teaching. Let me tell you the construction. We have 2 high school students teaching this class, okay? And there's also an actor. Well, the reason there's this construction is because this is how I solved the scaling problem. See, the idea of high school students teaching middle school students is an old idea. Even I did that, okay? But what we did has something different. While the high school students are teaching the middle school students, we put a professional actor in that Zoom call with their camera off and their microphone off. At the same time, we run a second Zoom call in parallel where the high schoolers and the actor can see each other and hear each other, okay? Now, while the high schoolers are teaching math, the actor is providing real-time feedback to the high schooler to teach these high school math people how to be more charismatic. Okay, we're teaching charisma to math people. Now, the reason we're doing this is because suddenly, I've made it so that if you teach 1 hour of math, what you get in return is 1 hour of training from a professional actor to teach you how to be more convincing on anything you want to do. Changes your life. This is completely different from high school student teaching 1 hour to a middle school student so you can add 1 more hour of community service when you apply to college, right? This is also different from teaching so that you earn some pocket money. No, this is getting an opportunity to change your entire life. Okay, well, the reason I could think of this is because I knew that the high school students had a pain point. It turns out that there's a lot of high school students in the world who want to apply for United States universities. Did you know that? I understand here too, and definitely in America. A lot of them are applying to US universities. And did you know that for people who are really good at math, one of the hardest parts of getting into US universities is not the math? What is it? It's the communication. It's the empathy. It's the connection with whoever you're talking with. It's the interview. So I realized that this is the most efficient way to help a math person get into those universities. Actually, our program is still small. We only have 100 high schoolers so far. They've taught about 2,000 middle schoolers. But this year, out of the 30 high schoolers who graduated, 6 of them got into Harvard. 2 of them are going to Princeton. 13 got into MIT. 2 are going to Duke. One's coming to CMU, Carnegie Mellon. You know, we actually cracked the code on how do you get admission to US universities. Oh, suddenly I have a strange problem. Now I have too many people lining up to join the high school program. Oh, I forgot to mention, the high schoolers don't pay anything, we pay them. Okay, at this point, what I just described is a high school program that pays you to get better acceptance rates to the top US universities than anything else out there. I have a weird problem in education. I have too many teachers. I'm actually serious. And suddenly, this makes it so that every class we run with a basic assumption. The people teaching the material are domain experts who even know about 4 grades higher in domain expertise of what they're teaching and can generate a lesson like that. This is a totally different assumption to be able to play with in education, which is why if you saw the way the class is running, did you see that there were all these messages flying up in the chat? It's because our basic model of teaching is, we're not going to tell you how to do the problem, you suggest. And whatever you want to use, the high school students will play along with you and use your ideas. This actually teaches you how to solve a problem you have never seen before. The code that we cracked here was how to scale up the supply of people who could actually do this and provide the service. Well, for the way that we know this works is we can even see what kind of high schoolers are inside this system. Well, I'm just going here to the list of, these are all the high school students in our system. This is everyone who currently teaches or has taught in this system. And you'll see they come from all over the place. Srinivas comes from Colorado. Armin is from Romania. Elena is the girl you just saw in the video. It turns out she's not only good at smiling and talking, she's also a math genius. MIT Primes means that she was doing research at MIT with MIT people in high school. And Sarah's from Romania. We're hoping to get people from Vietnam soon. That's one of the goals of coming here. Jesse, oh, okay, he's one of the ones going to Harvard. Michael is, let me move my mouse. Yeah, Michael's over here. He's from Illinois. This one's fun. After he joined our program, he managed to get elected president of his high school student government. I figured out how to get math people elected by normal people. And I'm just going to keep scrolling. I won't keep pointing out the individual people, but you'll see people after people after people after people. And now you'll get to know what I'm really trying to do with this. See, I found a way to get a giant win for anyone who joins this to teach at the high school level. Okay, I also have them teaching in pairs. That was architected on purpose. Because actually, since so many people want to apply, we are doing the same kind of job that an Ivy League admissions office is doing. We're screening people. They have to be good at math. But there's one more thing, because I'm a crazy guy. We go and check that they actually like people. This is very important to me. If we're about to make people super powerful, they better want to help other people. We use interviews. We ask for teacher recommendations. We screen very hard. And so we've found all these people who actually like people and are super smart. Then they teach in pairs. That makes friends. The area of math that I was a specialist in before I got distracted by the real world was graph theory. That's also known as network theory. When I look at the world, the only thing I see are networks and connections. I mean, the reason I'm here today is because of a connection through people I met at the International Math Olympiad this year. But what I'm doing here is I'm building a gigantic international network of people who are kind and brilliant and who we have taught to be charismatic, electable people. Why? Because actually the long-term plan of this is not even just to teach math. That's the small goal. The big goal is we are actually using this to influence the thinking of the younger kids that they're teaching. We're showing the younger kids, if you're brilliant, be nice. Help people. It's fun. Don't you want to be one of these people? Learn to talk. It'll help you. It'll change your life. Oh, but then that makes the young people want to be these people. This is a virtuous cycle. My goal is in 20 years, as these people all hit the job market, they're going to get hired so fast. I will endorse all of them. They will get hired so fast. They're smart, they have empathy, they're wonderful. They'll get promoted so fast too. In 20 years, these people are going to be in the leadership structures of all kinds of companies worldwide. Some of them might even get involved in government. I live in America. One of my goals is that in America we might see some more people in government regulating things and they actually know what they're regulating. That would be nice. Okay, that was a comment about American government, but yeah, it would be nice to have that. The only problem before was sometimes people were afraid, if I try to enter the political world, am I the only guy doing it? My dream is that as this thing grows, we'll have thousands of people doing it. Because right now I said we have 100, but I can see that from a pure incentive perspective, we could grow to 100,000 Americans a year. That's America only. That's only America. If you add the world, we could have hundreds of thousands. Where do I get the 100,000 a year as an estimate? It's because that's 1% of the United States high school population. If you think about it, the top 1% of math students in high school know plenty enough to coach 11-year-old kids. Their math level is actually very good. Secondly, the top 1% of high school students might want a life where they get to decide what to do. That requires communication skills. I have a supply-demand match. The only missing piece was to add the actors who add all of the incentive. And it just so turns out that we can use this. There's enough actors out there who are looking for part-time paid remote work jobs. That's actually what I realized. And this is another way of supporting the performing arts. There are actually thousands of actors out there who are looking for opportunities. It's so much fun. I get to work with actors. Our latest hire is in his 60s. He's 60 plus years old. And he's a retired performer from Cirque du Soleil. That's crazy. Cirque du Soleil is one of the top circus performing things in the world. We found ways to give retirement to actors. I mean, this is a win all the way through, okay? So that's actually what we're doing over on this program. Let me use the last few minutes to also tell a little bit about how I got this idea, and also maybe where else are we going with it. And as you can see, I'm just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling because, well, I still can. Someday I won't be able to anymore. All right? So first of all, one of the central goals of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to boost humanity. I want humans to survive, okay? I'm looking at the superhuman, what you're talking about there. And every time I see the word superhuman, I think, oh boy, we got to do something, all right? So I have no idea what's going to happen in the world other than it's going to be a mess. And, well, in that case, I think, what should we do for all the people? Like, how should you build systems for people? I had that perspective because I was the national coach of the US International Math Olympiad team. Okay? And then I started talking to lots and lots of people, and I realized it's not that much fun just to try to help people win. It's more fun to try to help the entire society flourish. And I thought hard about what should we actually be doing with all of these kids. And what I realized is actually what is useful is to try to instill a certain value. Just a second. Yes, this one. You see, a lot of people organize their life around the idea of pleasure being to delight oneself. What I've just described here is an ecosystem all organized around finding people for whom, for them, pleasure is in delighting other people. Okay, now you might think, here we are in an AI conference. You're listening to an actual PhD in mathematics, former coach of the US math team, and this is on the screen. Okay? But the reason this is on the screen is because, in case you didn't remember, the ancient Greek mathematicians were also philosophers. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah. I've started thinking about the philosophy of what in the world is the purpose of us being here if we're not the top intellect on this planet. And there are people, well, I don't mean to blame you, but it's going to be pretty soon that we're not the top intellect on the planet, okay? And if we're not the top intellect on the planet, if the goal is efficiency, guess what? The best way to make more paper clips is to get rid of all of us. Yeah? So in that case, I sure hope that there's a group of people who just like people. You know, there was this guy called Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov he was a science fiction writer, and there were these laws of robotics. And one of the most important laws of robotics was robots should not harm humans, right? What I see here is as the AI is getting stronger and stronger, we need to have more people who have a philosophy that they want to help people and that they like people. Okay, that's actually how I came up to this. And I said, this is in fact something that I'm trying to propagate. The only problem is if you just go tell people, hey, do this, doesn't do much. What I just showed you here, though, is a game theoretically sound system where it's actually really useful to join the system. If you don't join the system, let me tell you, you're guaranteed to lose to the superhuman AIs. So if you play alone, you're dead. I mean, it's up to you. You can be dead, your choice. But you see, this is not a religion. This is just using logic to deduce that if you decide to play solo, you are dead in about 20 years. Okay? You will survive if somehow you're part of a big network of people who are mutually helping each other. This is actually how I'm thinking about this. I also should say, I think of all of this stuff as a parent also. I don't know, how many of you guys have kids? I'm curious. If you have kids, you might care about your kids too, right? So if you have kids, I have kids. My kids are 10 years old, 16 years old, and 18 years old. All right, so I think about this. Actually, the 18-year-old, she's not a kid anymore. She's all grown up. Actually, right now, at this minute, she's on a plane to Rwanda. That's because she likes helping people too. She just graduated from high school. She told us that she's going to Rwanda. If you're 18, you can tell your parents, I'm just going to Rwanda. See ya. But that's what happened. She got someone else to pay for the plane ticket. She's going to go to Rwanda to teach math for like a week or something. I'm not entirely sure when she's coming back, but she'll figure it out, right? As a parent, my goal is to make it so that my kids can survive without me. That's sort of the goal, right? But at the same time, as a parent, I wanted to make sure that my kids really believed in this principle. Okay, and I then created a system to go and build this. Let me tell you how I came to a lot of these observations to realize such things were possible. I'm actually a problem solver. So sometimes when you have somebody with a background in technology, The natural thing is to build more technology, and I respect that. We need more technology. But I like to get my hands dirty. So, for example, I get my ideas by doing a lot of travel. This is the list of all the talks I'm giving this year in the United States from January to August. So every dot is a talk, okay? When we met in London, right? When we met in London, that was on the 24th of July, and we said goodbye, and we said we'll meet again in Vietnam. So on the 24th of July, I left London, and then I started giving a few talks. So we are now at number 24, since we met a month ago. And I'll just keep going, right? That was the second half of the summer. This is upcoming fall. This is what happened in 2024 starting in mid-January. This doesn't include the part I was running through China in the first 2 weeks of January. But I would go around, and I like to understand what's happening everywhere in the world. Every talk is an opportunity to interact with an audience, to see what you care about. And by the time you're done, you meet about 20,000 people. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll be done soon. There we go. Okay, so that's what I do in a year. Well, that's what I do in 8 months of a year. Sorry, that's 8 months of a year. But I wanted to share this because for a lot of us, we're pioneers in technology. I actually want to encourage, if you pioneer technology, try to talk to, see the people that you might be affecting, okay? Some of these talks, I take what's called the Greyhound bus to. In America, there's a bus that you can take, and there are also, of course, planes, and the bus is not usually ridden by extremely well-to-do people, shall we say, okay? But I'll do that because I want to know, how does everyone live? Also, this work that we do turns out to be also something which could help a lot of people from all different economic backgrounds. First, I should say we're able to scale all of the thing I showed you because it's actually also profitable. I'm a social entrepreneur. It is not useful to make something where you need to receive $1 of donation per person you help, because then you're going to run out of money. Okay? The way I think is, if I'm generating value for the world, then in theory, since the net value is positive, maybe I can cook up something using game theory so that we even end up in the positive. If you earn $1 for everyone you help, then you're good. Okay, that's how this works. So actually, those classes I just showed you, the thing I showed you on the video clip, that's not the only class we've run. I'm just going to play this in a loop in the background. We can deliver that at massive scale, massive volume. Okay, let me just put this thing here. This is just going to play in the number of possible. This is just going to play in the background while I continue talking as I close out my time. These are actual video clips from all the classes that we've been running. These are not edited. I'm just putting this here to show the sheer volume that we can put out because of the incentive alignment. And we, in the United States and all over the world, people are paying to take these classes. Because actually, you can't get math lessons like this taught by super geniuses who are smiling normally. We charge $22 an hour. If you know the market in most of the Western countries, that's a darn good price. So, okay, now we have income. Well, what do? Actually, we have profit. But I'm a crazy guy. I'm a social entrepreneur. I run a company where I control the entire equity table. I don't take any more investors. I am the board of directors and the CEO, so you're stuck with me. And then what we've been doing for the last 10 years is that when we make profits, we're giving that away by offering free classes to underserved populations. Okay? Actually, I will say we are lucky enough that we also have received significant donations to assist with that. You might wonder, how can you have donations and a for-profit at the same time? Well, there's a non-profit that receives donations and then contracts us to deliver the goods. The same way that people donated Chromebooks during the pandemic, because Google is a for-profit company, but you make great products, and so people donate to buy the products. So that's how I'm able to use a combination of philanthropy and our own philanthropy to scale out classes to underserved populations. The way I learned about that is I actually spent an entire academic year going personally every 3 weeks or so into low-income schools in the United States and teaching 6th grade. I'm just sharing with you, this is how I come up with ideas. I went and stood in front of classrooms of kids who might not have lunch or dinner normally, okay? And I would just go and teach math, but I would teach hard math because I was curious how many people's eyes would light up if I went and did something challenging. What I saw was that in all these schools, even the ones that normally did not do well on math scores, if you went and did something hard, there would be 10% of the kids whose eyes would light up and say, I want more, which is about the same percent as in the rich areas. Actually, it's a bigger percent than the rich areas, because in the rich areas, their parents already drove a BMW, so they didn't care. I should be nice. It's not quite that, but I'm trying to emphasize ambition is everywhere. And I saw this with my own eyes. There was even this one time I was teaching, and a kid picked up his chair from the middle of the back and moved it to the middle of the front row. And I asked, why did you do that? And he said, it's because I couldn't hear you from back there. I saw motivation. And so what we do is we actually also go and find these highly motivated kids, and then we create cohorts of them, and we teach them like this 2 nights a week, year-round. We're doing this because we found out that once you crack the code on one of the hardest nuts in education called how to scale the supply, well, then you can do all kinds of things. To sum up, we now have this really interesting ecosystem built through aligning incentives. It's because these people, well, they can go on and do all kinds of things, which we need, because the world's going to be a mess. And perhaps they're going to save us all. Thank you.